I think that a user-centered approach is not just an implication. I think it is, and it should be central to defining a national digital library or, for a matter of fact, any other offering, whether it is digital or not. Okay? The reasons why I say that is because a user-centered approach can define the very fundamentals of what the library should do, and only then how the library should do it. Okay? So I think there is sometimes, unfortunately, a misunderstanding about user-centered design and UX, that it's related to the UI. And I really want to differentiate between UX and UI. UX stands for user experience. Of course, UI stands for user interface. So the user experience, it is much broader and much deeper than the user interface. While the user interface is extremely important, and it defines how information is organized, presented, the aesthetic aspects, the interaction design aspects. However, the interface cannot satisfy the user if the product doesn't offer the capabilities or the features that actually provide value. Okay, so you can have a product that is very beautiful, that has an amazing interface, but it is just not something that people want, not something that they need. It doesn't add value to their lives. And so a user-centered design approach is fundamental because it can help us save a lot of time and a lot of resources by first determining what is needed, what is valuable, what is useful. And so before we get into questions of what is usable, what is pretty, we need to first determine what is useful. And a deep, honest look into user needs that is informed by user-centered design can help us identify what is valuable and what is useful, and can help us define a direction for whatever it is that we're trying to build. Yeah, so here I represent Microsoft Research, and specifically Microsoft Academic, which empowers users to access scholarly publications through semantic search. Our website, academic.microsoft.com, is open and free to all, and it is a wonderful way to find scholarly publications. I have to recognize, as I did in my talk yesterday, that Microsoft Academic serves a much narrower segment of the population than a national library, especially the national library of such a big country as India. That being said, I think there are a lot of people in India, many of them students, possibly in this audience, a lot of wonderful research that comes out of Indian universities and research institutes. And I think that it would be wonderful to help them access scholarly publications from the entire world by forming a partnership with Microsoft Academic. Microsoft Academic is the largest repository of scholarly publications in the world. We're at about 171 million scholarly publications today. The numbers grow by about 1 million publications each month. So it is really, really huge, really, really large. Of course, we make it openly available on our website, but we also provide access through our API, which means that the National Digital Library could decide to use the data that is so carefully curated and prepared through really amazing advances in artificial intelligence and offer those results to the Indian public through the library interface. And so I think that this is a very direct and tangible way in which we would love to cooperate with the National Digital Library of India and offer access to these kinds of academic resources to the audiences of the library. Let me explain how I think of this. Yes, just because I like to outline the difference between UX and UI, I do not want to imply that one is more important than the other. Of course, without the UI provides that aspect of that hedonic aspect of the user experience, the one that relates to emotions, to pleasure, to aesthetic fulfillment. and therefore to motivation of use. So there is a lot of research that shows that an aesthetically pleasing interface actually increases adoption, and it also increases performance, user performance, of course, as well as user preference, okay? But I do not want to fall into the pitfall of thinking that UX means just making things pretty. Okay, for the longest time, we have thought of usability of UX as something that comes in at the very end and is mostly decorative in nature. I think that is a mistake. And I am very happy, having talked to the PI and the co-PI of the NDL effort, to see that they're actually very focused on first identifying who are the audiences and what is valuable to them. And that is fundamental, right? That is the foundation. If you want to think of user experience, it has a pyramid, right? And so at the bottom of the pyramid is we have to have the things that matter to people, the things that are useful, and the things that are valuable, okay? And those things should work. From an engineering perspective, we have to make sure that our infrastructure is solid and that it delivers and it stays online and it's fast and all those kinds of things. Up a level from that is usability, okay? We have to make sure that our product is easy to learn and easy to use. The information architecture for a national library is a huge problem that has been researched in the past, and there are many books. Peter Morville is an expert on information architecture. And I think with the NDL, it's going to be a much bigger challenge because of the diversity of publics that exist in India and the sheer size of the public that the library targets, right? But we have to ensure in some way, shape, or form that we don't leave anybody out, that people who want to use the library are able to do so because they understand how to navigate it, they understand how to find the information, right? So without these two, the top layer, you could think of it as a cake as well, right? Without these foundations, the top layer is meaningless. The top layer is that of the pleasurable aspect, right? So first of all, it should work, it should be easy to learn and easy to use, and then it should be fun, all right? Fun is very, very important. The expectations for user experience have changed a lot. Many people are used to beautiful, very, very well crafted interfaces, right? And so if you present an effort that comes from a university or from government that is not as pretty and shiny and slick as what we're used to seeing from Facebook, from Instagram, Pinterest, and all those things, people might not be inclined to use them. Okay, so that fun aspect is also very, very important, but we have to be careful as to not to separate the layers, right? We talk about the layers individually in order to be able to wrap our minds around them and in order to be able to figure out how to plan and organize our work, okay? But we don't necessarily want to say that, oh, we're just going to do this one and leave the other two out. I think that would be a mistake. So I think all three of them are very, very important, and I think it is important, of course, to ensure that first of all, the engineering layer works, that it provides value, that it satisfies and it meets the needs of the population it is trying to serve, and then that it's easy to learn, easy to use, and also fun. So it's really interesting what you're saying, because India is home to amazing art. The aesthetic sensibilities of this culture are phenomenal, right? And you say you are very functional people, but the clothes you wear are really very beautiful. The jewelry you wear is really, I can't find anything as nice anywhere in the world, okay? So I look at magazines and all these things from Chanel and Chopard and all this, and I thought, they're so ugly. They're so ugly and simple as compared to what you can get in India. So I think that in India there's a lot of aesthetic sensibility, and I've seen some amazing graphic designers who are able to capitalize on some of the patterns and the themes that you find in Indian art and bring them into the digital realm. So I think that there are many such people around, many amazing graphic designers and UI designers who I'm sure would be very happy to help. Yeah, I agree with you that the public's expectations, especially the younger generation's expectations, but not only, in regards to aesthetics are very, very important. We also have a lot of research that shows that aesthetics are important in judging credibility and trustworthiness. So when users look at a website, of course, in this case, it will have the logo of the National Digital Library of India, and so that provides a lot of credibility. But we do have research that shows that when people look at a website, they first look at the aesthetic dimension to form a first impression and to decide whether they can trust that website or not. Yeah, as regular users, we refer to it as, does it look professional? Okay, does it look professional? Of course, a graphic designer knows how to translate that into alignment and color schemes and rhythm and visual hierarchy and all those techniques that they know how to use. And so, yeah, I think it is really, really important. But at the same time, I will reiterate that it would be very dangerous to think of UX as just UI. Well, so I think the National Digital Library of India, it is an amazing and overwhelming enterprise. I can't even wrap my mind around it. I think it is beautiful and phenomenal that there are people who have been able to start and make progress so quickly on this initiative. I think that the National Digital Library of India is going to be a phenomenal resource, not only for India, but for the entire world. And so selfishly, as a user from abroad, I cannot wait to be able to have access to the treasures that this country has to offer. Of course, the cultural heritage, the number of documentation of archives, the length of India's history, right? The number of people in this country, they all make it such a huge, enormously overwhelming effort. And I have the utmost respect for the people who are tackling such a difficult problem. And I'm really excited to be able to to offer the world access to the richness of India. I think that a lot of the things that we know about Indian culture, history, and heritage, we see, unfortunately, in museums in the West. And I think it is high time for India to speak for itself and to highlight and to offer and to share its own cultural heritage on its own terms, not on the terms of other people or other countries, other cultures, right, who have gotten access to some of these artifacts by means that I would not necessarily consider honorable. So that's for me from a larger societal perspective as well as me as a user. And so for Microsoft Academic, in comparison to the enormity of the National Digital Library of India effort, is a vertical. It is a very small slice, right? And we would be more than honored to play a part and to help add value to the users of the National Digital Library of India.